So today there was an article published in the Hindu newspaper regarding the Bio Pharma Shakti, which was recently introduced by the government of Union Government in the Union Budget 2026. So let's discuss about the Bio Pharma Shakti and what it does to the pharmaceutical industry, pharmaceutical sector in India. So first, let's learn about what is what are biologics. So uh, biologics. The definition of biologics are these are drugs made from living cells. So these are complex drugs, large and complex drugs made from human cells. If we take the examples, these are vaccines, MRAs, and we can also insulins. So the vaccines, MRAs, and insulins are the large and complex drugs made from the living cells. So these, due to the rise in many chronic diseases, there was a increase in demand for these biologics in the global world. So what is what does this biopharma Shakti does to this? So the aim of the biopharma Shakti is to increase the or boost the domestic production of biologics and biosimilars. So we know the definition of biologics. These are complex and large drugs made from living cells. What is does biosimilar mean? These are like generic variations. These are generic variations of biologics. Like when the patent is completed, when the generic drug patent for this biologic drug is, when the drug patent is finished, these drugs is reverse engineered to biosimilars. It is similarly nothing but after the drugs patent is completed, the new pharmaceutical industries or whatever the uh, manufacturing companies, they develop a similar kind of drug with slight modification in generic variations. So this is biopharmaceuticals. So what is happening now for biologics? Like the testing of biologics, we need animal testing. Generally, in today's world, they are majorly depend on animal testing. So what happening is this: these animal testing, the testing on animals is 100% not reliable. Why? Suppose, let us assume this the receptor of animal and the receptor of human. So this is a biological drug which has been tested. This is biological drug. So the biological drug on animal, the receptor of the animal might, accept or reject the biological drug, which does not exactly mimic, that does not 100% mimic the human cells. This is what major problems. That is, animal testing is completely not reliable for a human, like for a drug that can be used in human beings. This is what the major problem is. So, since animal testing or testing on animal does not correctly predict how they work in humans, how the drug works in human. So, I'll give you an example of this. There was a called Northwick Park tragedy. This is the best example where animal testing does not correctly predict how the drugs works on human beings, human cells. So what happened in this? There was an monoclonal antibodies. So what are these monoclonal antibodies? These monoclonal antibodies are something like when a person is affected with the virus and he get cured, we extract the antibodies of that person and we make the virus. Similarly, during the corona time, there are many there are many drugs or many vaccines which are made up of antibodies from the affected persons. So this is mRNAs. We can call it as mRNAs. So during this Northwick Park tragedy, what happened is in the phase one of the trials, where on a monkey these trials were tested, the trials got passed. Whereas on humans, on 6 humans, this trial was failed. The humans did not react as per like according to they did not react positively to these trials. Whereas in phase two, a mouse model is tested, like mouse model, it was passed, whereas on humans, around 457 human beings, it got failed. So this is what happening, that the animals does not does not correctly replicate the working of the human working of the drug on humans. So for this, there was a study conducted by the what we can say, there was a study conducted by London in 2024 regarding the non-animal methodologies. Adopting of non-animal methodologies, these are also called as NAMs. So what does this non-animal methodologies? The non-animal methodologies are something, there is no use of animals in clinical trials. So what do you use? We use bioengineered techniques. Instead of animals, we use bioengineering technique like organoids. Organoid means extracting a cell from human body, extract cell from human body and increase that cells and test the drug on these cells. And also organ on a chip, where on a chip a organ was placed and a drug was tested on this. Similarly, there is another thing called 3D bioprinting, where a cell extracted was made to develop a 3D bioprinting on which the drugs are tested. These are some of the techniques which are alternative to the animal testing. What is the benefit of this? These are human made cells. These are human made, which exactly replicate the functioning of human cells. Unlike the animals, where animals does not correctly replicate the functioning of the human cells, but here we are extracting the human cells. That's the reason they 100% they perfectly replicate the functioning of the human cells and the drug on the human body. So, uh, so what are the advantages of these NAMs? So, if we take the advantages of NAMs, one one is no animal being used for testing. No animal is used for testing. The second is reduction in cost of production. It was estimated in a study that around 10 to 26% of the cost is reduced because of the non-animal methodologies. And the third is reduction in timelines for production of the drug. So the timeline is like from formulating the generic drug to clinical trials and releasing it in the market. This timeline has been reduced around 19% with usage of NAMs. So these are one of the major advantages of usage of NAMs. So what is the future of NAMs in India? So the future of NAMs is like uh, we can say that around 90 academic labs are working on innovations on NAMs, like working on the innovation methodologies, like developing new kind of NAM technologies, NAM methodologies, we can say. And so this would, since India is a pharmaceutical hub of the world, India is a pharmaceutical hub of the world, increase like investing in this or increase in the production of drugs would majorly boost the Indian economy too. So what are the challenges faced by India? The challenge is sustained funding and the infrastructure for NAMs or biologics. So this, and also guidelines for the approval of these biologics and biosimilars. So this first challenge, funding, funding is taken care by Bio Pharma Shakti. Around 10,000 crores has been provided in the 2026 budget outlay, which will help in the long-term like long-term funding of the norm methodologies and biologics and bio uh, similars and infrastructure. Government is also trying to provide infrastructure for this, and guidelines, they are still in draft nature, like clinical. Okay, new drugs and according to new drugs and clinical trials rules 2023 helps in adopting the NAM methodologies for biologics and biosimilars production. So this is how this biopharma Shakti is helping. So another challenge is evergreening of patent, right? That the industries or the pharmaceutical companies which have patented a certain type of drug are being misusing the uh, misusing the patent rules, where they slightly change the generic, just vary the generic drug slightly and apply for a new patent. This is hindering the production in biosimilars. So this is how. So biopharma sector. So what we say, Biopharma Shakti program would help in boosting domestic production of biologics and biosimilars. Similarly, address the funding gap, funding and infrastructure gaps. So this is what the Biopharma Shakti scheme is about.